Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's presentation as part of the Industry Insight webinar series. The topic this time is Case Management 101. Speaking today will be Chelsea Lambert from Smokeball. Chelsea Lambert is the Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Smokeball, a provider of productivity software for small law firms based in Chicago. Her mission is to help attorneys and legal professionals understand the technology that is available to them, how to use it, and the positive impacts it can have on their business. As a former practice management advisor for the Chicago Bar Association, she is an expert in small law firm processes, marketing, technology, and law practice management education. The Industry Insight webinar series is hosted by the ABA Legal Technology Resource Center. To stay updated on upcoming webinars or view previous videos, visit ambar.org/industryinsight. You can also stay updated on legal technology news through our blog, www.lawtechnologytoday.org. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll now begin the webinar.
Hi everyone. Thanks so much for spending your afternoon with me. To tell you a little bit about myself and why we're giving the presentation that we are today, I have spent the last 10 years of my career working specifically with small law firms all over the U.S. To figure out the best match technology for their practice. So while I am an employee of Smokeball and we do provide software for small law firms, I want everyone to take today's session as really kind of a tool that you can use to evaluate all of the products that are out there for you. Because from my perspective, and having worked with so many small law firms, really what makes practice management software or case management software successful is that best fit for your firm. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to go through different ways that you can evaluate that case management system and questions that you're going to ask yourself about your work, about your staff, about the tasks that you do on a repetitive basis. And based on your answers to those questions, you will be able to navigate all of the different providers that are out there and have a little bit more of an educated guess or an educated decision as to what is going to fit best in your firm. So just to start, I want to run through this series of questions with everybody. And imagine that you've been out of the office and maybe you've been on vacation or you're coming back where you've had a couple of days to think, where you've been away from your work and not necessarily tied up in the weeds or the minutia of all of the day-to-day activity that we deal with. And sometimes it takes time out of the office, whether it's actually working remotely for a half day or actually thinking about these things when you're returning from a vacation where you've been distant from it to get the answers. So what is my day like? From the time that you wake up and you first look at your smartphone, which I know all of us are not supposed to do, but most of us do it anyway when we pull open our email and we immediately start running through all the thoughts of the day. So you open up your email first thing in the morning, and what are you doing? Are you mentally logging tasks? Are you putting them in a to-do list? Are you thinking about the things that you're going to assign to other people on your team, documents or answers that you need to return? And what are those due dates and deadlines like? Out of those tasks, how many of them are repetitive? How much of your work uses documents that you used to use or happens in a fashion that is very similar to every single type of a particular case that you execute? If you have used software in the past or you are using case management software now, what do you like and what don't you like? And more importantly, what didn't you like? Where did you feel that there was a gap? Did you feel like a solution took you 60% of the way, but that you had to use 3 other tools to get the other 40%? Or what programs do you spend the most amount of your time in? Do you spend the most amount of your time with email open? If you have more than one monitor, do you leave email open on the one screen and work in a word processor or in your case management system or a specific website that you are working within throughout the day? And write those components down. Because basically what we're doing is we're creating a mind map that is going to show us what portions of our day, specifically time-wise, we are spending in each area. So if you're practice is document-centric or document-heavy, where you're producing a lot of letters, a lot of contract agreements, maybe reusing the same work product client over client, we're going to be living in a word processor, whether that's Google Docs or Microsoft Word or a version of WordPerfect if we haven't moved to Office yet. And write that down. And write down about how many hours a day you're spending in your email manager, in your word processing tool, on particular websites. Maybe it's using a research tool, and then meeting with clients. And how long those client meetings take, and really just start to map out the amount of time that you're spending and how much of your day is repetitive or that you're doing the same task over and over. Another big factor to today's conversation is, how do I bill? So if you're in a transactional consumer law practice, you might be using QuickBooks. I met an attorney last week who was issuing invoices out of Microsoft Word because he bills a flat fee, and all he really needs to take care of is making sure that the check gets deposited into the right account, and then he reconciles that. So it really depends on how you bill as well. The solutions that we're going to look at today include a variety of features. I will be the one to tell you that as much as we would love to see it, there is really not one standalone, and I say standalone because the products that we're going to talk about today have integration options. There is not one standalone tool that is really going to be that silver bullet from front end of meeting with your clients all the way through cutting checks out of your bank account. There's not really that one solution out there, and I often question that if there was, could it really do everything well? And sometimes it's not about finding that one solution, it's about finding two solutions that make you more efficient, and especially if they can talk to each other. So after you've gone through these questions, also consider your clients. Would your clients utilize and benefit from access such as features like a client portal or online bill pay? And who else is going to use this with me? Do we have other employees involved? And if so, think about what their day is like and the programs that they spend the most time in. So from my perspective, after working with all of these small firms, a case management system should do one of two things. It should give you answers, like a fancy search engine built specifically for your business, or execute your work. And when I say execute, I mean actually prepare or file your work for you, so that it takes out a portion of that manual process or time associated with a specific or repetitive activity. And when I say give you answers, it means that you can easily access a client phone number, case notes, your activity history working with them, maybe a document or a record that was associated. So it should do one of two things. And just to kind of give you a high-level comparison, a simple CRM, or if you've ever heard of the term CRM, it stands for Customer Relations Management or Client Relations Management Tool, contact management tool. Basically, a CRM is a database that allows you to record all of that client information, their names, their addresses, their phone numbers, whereas a tool that is actually going to execute your work will have an element of document automation or a email integration so that it's tracking or filing your emails for you. And those are really kind of the two sides of that coin. So there are different solutions, and if we've all heard cloud a million times, but really the cloud has evolved in such a way that we have pure cloud solutions like Clio and Rocket Manor in my case, and Lexicata, and a whole laundry list of other tools, and I'll give you a list towards the end of today's presentation. And those are purely in the cloud, purely accessible online. And that is also the takeaway from that too, is that because they are only accessible online, part of your day should also, when you're thinking through it, include whether or not you are whether or not you have a strong internet connection at every place where you work. Or does your internet go out from time to time? Because if you're considering a cloud solution and you live in a rural area where you have unreliable internet or spotty internet, or you have satellite internet only, a cloud solution, while convenient and very affordable, might end up causing issues if you have latency or your internet connection drops all the time, because essentially if you can't get to the cloud, you can't get to the internet, you can't get to your work, you can't get to your practice, you can't get to your files. So that is something to think about. Not that cloud providers or the internet ever have like a massive outage, knock on wood, knocking on this desk right now, but something to think about. Also comes into play quite often if you travel frequently. Is the airport or the airplane that you're on going to have that internet connection when you need to get a file? If you don't have a laptop with you, do they have a mobile application that's accessible with that information? And so where most of us started with case management software is going to be on the far right-hand side, premise-based or server-based, or basically what that means is it has to live somewhere. It has to live physically on your computer to work. So it comes with a download from the internet, or a disk that you install, or if you've come from a larger firm where you had servers that hosted that software, it has to physically live on premise. And that's why it's called premise-based. So on the far left, we have only accessible on the web, have to have an internet connection, and it has to be a good one, otherwise you're not going to be able to work. And all the way on the right, where it's premise-based, where we actually don't need an internet connection at all because it's living on our machine. And we're responsible for all of the hardware and the IT costs and everything associated with that. And then there is this slice in the middle called a cloud hybrid that gives you the accessibility and the backups of a cloud solution, but also the flexibility and security to work offline, like the premise-based solution that we have all the way to the right. And the advantages of a cloud hybrid is that if you have intermittent times where you are offline, or you're traveling, or you just don't want to have that connection to the internet that's required in order for the product to work, the cloud hybrid solutions will work in an offline environment. But the advantage is that they actually sync the data to the cloud. They sync data to all of your other machines, and I'll give you a scenario. So if I'm using a pure cloud tool, I open up my laptop, I open up a web browser, I go to that website, I log in, I'm working. If I'm using a premise-based tool, I'm opening up my machine, and it doesn't require an internet connection, and all of my work is saved locally there. With a hybrid solution, I can be offline, I can do all kinds of work, and then when I connect to the internet, it's going to run my backup, it's going to sync all of my data. If anybody else in my firm also has a license, that's going to sync to a master file that they can see. So they are now updated with everything I did during the time that I was not connected to the web. And so that's really just a personal preference. The advantages of a premise-based solution all the way to the right is that it integrates with programs that you run locally on your machine. So it's going to integrate with Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, other portions of Office. On the far left, cloud solutions will typically integrate with other cloud solutions. So Gmail for email, and Google Docs for documents. So you're working with this similar integrations, but the difference is that they're web-based integrations, and then on the far right, they're premise-based. The cloud hybrid in the middle allows you to have the flexibility, security, and backup peace of mind of having that cloud available, but integrates with those local tools like Word and Outlook as well. So let's jump into features. And what we're going to do is we're going to go slide by slide through a series of features that most case management software systems have and what they do for each individual feature. Now, today's presentation is a high-level overview of the most common features that you're going to see in the marketplace today. There might be some outliers that are not in here that are specific to that particular tool. I will give you some examples as we go. So client management. This is basically where you keep track of everybody's address, phone numbers, related contacts such as spouses, business partners, possibly trustees, judges, and so on. It is purely to manage that person-to-person relationship. We had a phone call, Maybe this is your billing information, where I can reach you. Don't call me between the hours of 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. That type of information is all stored inside of that contact record, much like a contact card in Outlook or a contact in Gmail. That's the type of information that you're going to see in that client management portion. Now, where client management connects to your law firm is the matter management. So you can't have a matter without a business or a contact, plain and simple. So you're going to need essentially files associated with each of those contacts, organizations, or companies that allows you to centralize and create a digital file for anything related to that particular matter, case, project. Those things could include general case information. Is this an estate plan? Is this a workers' compensation case? It also gives you the advantage of using a case numbering or naming scheme so that we're not just talking about the Jones file. We could have 10 Joneses. We're talking about Jones file -1152. Inside of that matter, you have case information and details. And depending upon the type of law that you practice and the case management system that you choose to use, you are going to have different information requested based on the provider that you go with. So if you are using Clio, you can actually create custom fields that allow you to record specific case information and details related to an estate plan, and then record different information for a new LLC or small business law case. You can also create internal notes. So notes between yourself and your team that do not call this particular client unless you have an answer. They are very time sensitive and they only want to hear from us when we have an update. You could also provide cell phone numbers in those internal notes that are specific to other parties on the case, maybe a business partner, a co-counsel, opposing counsel, where it's not directly related to the client. So you wouldn't go into Tom Smith's files to see the trustee's phone number. You would go into the matter, and then sort of all of those related contacts and their information should be contained. You can see related documents and ideally versions. So as you are working, so many of us spend a good portion of our day in our word processing tool creating documents, creating work products. That's the value that we bring with our expertise is the documents that we produce that advocate on behalf of the client. And the different versions that you create, instead of accidentally saving over one of them, ideally you should have a system where you are tracking the versions so that you can either revert back to an earlier one or see the history of changes that went on with this particular client, matter, project, or so forth. Case-specific info tracked with custom fields. We covered that a little bit in the Clio example, but to expand on it further, ideally you would want a system that speaks to your practice area or one that you can customize to do so. So if name, address, and phone number are not enough for you to reference them and produce documents, so you should not have to go all the way back into your email 50 times throughout the day to populate a document that you need to create for this particular client. You should have a system that allows you to do that inside of the matter file itself for a couple different reasons. One, productivity. If I kept every piece of information that I needed throughout the day on Post-it notes, one, I wouldn't be able to see my desk. Two, I would not be able to find anything efficiently and in a time-sensitive manner to be productive enough to justify essentially my role or my job. There would just be no way that I would be able to accomplish what I need to accomplish in a day unless I had a centralized system where I could refer to information and I wasn't manually sifting through paper. So having something that is specific to the type of work that you do will make you, you will be more inclined to be more organized because it has a place. Like when you go home and you walk in your house and there is clearly a place to hang your coat and take your shoes off. That is where those things go. This is the same philosophy behind matter management and client management, in that if it has a place that's related to your practice area where you put a trustee's information, or you put an insurer's information, or a title company, or so on and so forth, with a variety of different examples across every practice area, you're going to be more inclined to use that system because that information has a home and it has a place to go. Tagging and organizational tools make you more productive. They also reduce errors, and this is going to be a big portion of our conversation today, is that the reduction of errors protects you against potential malpractice issues. It makes you more efficient, and if you're more efficient, you can pay more attention to your clients. You could potentially make more money through higher profit margins because you're saving time. It doesn't take you as much time to actually do the work, or with that saved time, you could go out and generate new business. And then lastly is reporting. So what is going to be a system that can give you that 50,000, 100,000 foot view of your practice? Because the health of our business can only be determined when you really look at it as a whole. And if you're not able to pull simple reports on where your clients are coming from, what stage every single case that you're working on is at, I kind of give the, depressing as it is, I give the what happens if you get hit by a bus scenario. And could someone come into your practice today, and could they clearly see a list of every client that you have with their contact information so that they could be contacted? That's that client management side. But also, from an ethical perspective, could they see how many open cases that you have? Could they see upcoming hearing and closing dates because it's integrated with a calendar, or you're tracking those dates in a system that suits your practice? And that also gives you the ability, on the flip side of maybe not such a depressing example of getting hit by a bus, but maybe there's an opportunity for you to sell your practice, or to merge with another partner, or bring on a partner because they have a unique skill set that could be advantageous to your clients, and a way for your firm to grow as a whole. And what happens when they want to come in and you're not able to produce any reports or give any essentially health statistics of your business? It makes that person uncertain of their ability to come into your firm and really take root and help you grow. So from that 50,000, 100,000 foot view, what are you able to see? What are you able to report on? And in a perfect world, these custom fields that you see that are specific to your practice area should tie into reporting somehow, so that you can see the status of all of your real estate closings and upcoming dates, or how many cases have been referred to you, and have you actually been paid on them? How many cases do you refer out where you don't ever actually know if you've collected that money, or you're not in a position to report on how many cases you've referred out or been referred by another attorney? And that is matter management. Well, let's move into time and billing. So time and billing is an interesting portion of case management systems, because almost all of them will include some time and billing features. It's just a question of the type of billing that you need, and whether or not you're looking for an all-encompassing solution, or if no matter what case management system you're using, you're still going to have to use an accounting package, such as QuickBooks or another tool. Now, I will tell you there is a solution out there that will cut checks for you. There's a couple different ones, and prices vary across all of these systems. So you can absolutely get a simple time and billing tool for as low as $99 for the entire year. There's a product actually built here in Chicago called Time 59, where if you just need a simple solution, it's $99 for the entire year. It includes everybody in your entire firm, and you can do all of your billing inside of Time 59. But if you're cutting checks for things like internet or paper, employee payroll, you're most likely still going to have to use an accounting system like QuickBooks. So like I said in the beginning, unfortunately, there is not necessarily that silver bullet where it's going to pay your employee payroll, manage all of your cases, do your time and billing, give your clients a client portal, offer online bill pay. Today, there's just not that all-in-one solution. And I question if there was, if it would really be good at all of those things. So think about the front of the house, all of the work that is client-facing, and back of the house, all of that operational work, and really start to look at what your needs are on both sides, and perhaps two solutions that do very specific things is the answer and what will make you more productive, as opposed to trying to force fit an all-in-one solution into your practice. So do you need leads coding? Do you need IOLTA management? Are you offering tiered rates? Do you do a majority of your services on a flat fee? Are you operating on a contingency? Do you change your invoices based on the type of client or type of project that you are working on? If you work in a consumer or transactional law practice, or maybe even a commercial one, do you need to offer clients online bill pay? Or, other question, if you did, would they pay faster? I cannot tell you how many attorneys I work with that are still check-only basis, and I deal with their cash flow issues. I don't personally deal with them, but I counsel them on their cash flow issues, and it's really, really difficult to hunt checks down in the mail, or to find the time, most importantly, to find the time to chase clients down. It's not necessarily the delay in payment. It's the delay in payment coupled with the fact that you have to make 10 different phone calls to get a piece of paper in the mail and then wait for that piece of paper for another 4 days. So even if you're not using a case management system, I encourage everybody on this call to please investigate a credit card processing or a automated payment tool just for your own cash flow management. And then, and that includes accepting credit cards, ACH or automated check payment, which is an e-check. Those types of things where it still gives your clients the ability to pay you with a check, but the difference of private to the bank, deposit it. Maybe you can enter that information with them when they first sign up as part of your retainer agreement, and then when they give you permission to pay an invoice, you're running it off of their bank account directly as opposed to a credit card or check. That brings us to the attorney-client portal. And the attorney-client portal is something that has been around for quite some time. I was fortunate enough to work with Stephanie Kimbrough in her company VLO Tech years and years ago when they were offering one of the very first client portals available. And what you have to ask yourself is whether or not, as excited as you might be, whether or not your clients are actually going to use it. Are they going to, is their information sensitive enough where they can see the security benefits? Is the convenience factor of being able to pay their bills online enough to motivate them to go into the system? And the attorney-client portal can be a very, very client-friendly, positive customer service offering from your firm. I have worked with a ton of attorneys who have implemented client portals, not all of them successfully. There were a few firms that thought that the client portal would be their differentiator and a way to set themselves apart, only to find out when they realized that half of their client base doesn't actually have a computer. So you have to think about your physical location, or you're in a rural environment. I will give you examples of the two firms where this did not work, one of which was a bankruptcy firm where the level of tech savvy in their particular area was poor. Procrastination on behalf of their clients. The client portal was not a good fit for their practice. They used technology everywhere in their firm, and they thought that this would, again, be another layer of convenience for their clients, only to find out that clients were bothered by the fact that they needed to go in, they would forget passwords all the time, and it just didn't fit for that particular practice area. They found that in-person appointments in the law firm are always going to be the best route for them. Another situation, agricultural law, rural environment, where it was an attorney who specifically worked with farmers in the Midwest, and he implemented it. He communicated to his clients that this was available, and they just preferred that traditional, we do business with a handshake, I'm going to come to your office and make this a part of my day. So sometimes it isn't necessarily the will of the attorney or the practice that has a negative reaction to the client portal. Sometimes it's just the way that the clients want to do business that's going to dictate whether or not this is going to work for you. Advantages of using a client portal. It's secure. So when you're transmitting documents over email, especially if you're in an area such as, let's just use estate planning as an example, where you are passing on asset information, maybe investment account information, that information is highly secure, social security numbers, passport details, if you're in immigration, citizenship, and nationality information, and you're passing that back and forth, would it be more secure if they were to log in and actually save their files inside of that client portal account for you to review? And would it help the process of moving through the case faster? Because ideally what we're trying to do is we're trying to make ourselves more efficient while offering a higher level of service to our clients. And the client portal, while at face value might look like it is a easy way to offer that higher level of customer service, maybe if just by being more organized and having everything that you need in one place, that frees up an extra hour in your day where you can actually call the client, which can also be delivering a higher level of client service. So just something to think about. If you're saving time on the efficiency side, it will free you up to be more proactive in working with your clients, or you give them the ability to self-service, which saves you time because you don't have to chase them down for documents. Just kind of a know your client, know your audience question for you to think about. It reduces data entry. That is another advantage. So if you give the client the ability to enter their own information, sign up to work with your firm through your website, to execute a retainer agreement online, all of those things, you're going to have less entry to do on your side. If you have paralegals, they'll be happy because a lot of the information filled out on a clipboard is sometimes hard to read. I was actually just at a board meeting last night where we were talking about paper applications that we're having a hard time reading, and our members are all busy professionals here in the city. So those forms can easily be misconstrued, and then you're chasing clients down to figure out what's the correct spelling of their email address or their name. So giving them the ability to update that information and enter it accurately for the first time on their own is always a nice benefit. And then it is discrete and confidential option for sensitive matters. And I'm going to give you just a real-world example of if I'm going through a bankruptcy or a divorce, and I'm in the middle of my office and my attorney needs to talk to me at 10 o'clock in the morning, am I going to take that phone call at my desk? No. But you give me a login to a secure message board where we can talk back and forth, I can sit and chat with you as long as we need to. And you're still having that conversation, but it's not publicly voiced in the middle of my office. It's not something that I have to go into a conference room to do. It's not something that I need to walk and leave the office or go into the lobby of our building to take that call. It's discreet, it's private, it's confidential, and that's a nice place to keep that secure conversation. Again, an ethical benefit of the client portal is that it also gives you an accurate audit trail of all of that communication back and forth in between yourself and your client, so that you can, in the event that they were to ever file a claim and say, well, I never agreed to that fee amount, or my attorney and I never discussed that, you're not fishing through your emails looking for those messages back and forth. They're clearly done inside of that communication chain. That can also be achieved by integrating email, which we're going to talk about in a couple of slides. Or actually the next one. So email management, that's actually a good segue from client portal into email management. So the other option, if the client portal is not for you, and actually just a really, really great tool, if you can find a solution that fits with your firm, is email management. On average, an attorney receives over 120 emails a day on average, and that is a conservative number. And I think a lot of people on this call can probably say I probably receive 400, 500 emails a day, and it's a beast. It's an absolute nightmare to try and manage, but somehow we've been doing it. And when you multiply the number of attachments, documents, comments, there's 5 people on this particular email. Everybody's talking. We're BCCing ourselves so that we can save a copy. It just becomes this snowball of all of these email records and files, and Heaven forbid that you have to go back and you have to find something, because now we're digging through an email chain with 20 different people on it. It's going to take me an hour to find that email. And no joke, it has taken me sometimes an hour to dig up an email from 6 months ago because it was associated with so many different things, and I'm searching a word that wasn't actually in there, and that you're just trying to find it, and it's a nightmare. And when you multiply out the number of people that you work with on a particular matter, it's a problem. And so email management is something I'm particularly passionate about because it just creates such a time suck. Email is this can't live with it, can't live without it type tool. We need it to do business, but it effectively is a productivity killer. There's a lot of startup companies here in Chicago, and a couple of them have no email policy rule, a no internal email policy rule, where you physically have to get up and walk to somebody's desk, because they realize that if they can keep their employees out of email and keep them working, that they are more productive and more profitable. And that's really what today's session is all about. How do we get you more productive so that you can be more profitable by using a tool like this? So an ideal case management system that has an email management feature is going to do a couple different things. It's going to give you the ability to send an email to your client from the system and save a copy of that email. Now, the essentially golden ticket is when they reply to that email and a copy gets saved inside the Manor file as well. And if it doesn't do that automatically, then you need to have the ability to attach email records to a Manor. Because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. A year from now, 6 months from now, maybe a couple months from now, there's going to be a repeat case, repeat client, or very, very similar client to a situation that you've dealt with in the past, and you're going to say to yourself, oh, you know what, I have that in an email, and we should do the same thing, or I should reference this because it's going to be valuable to this discussion, and it's going to save me a ton of time. If I can just find that email, it's going to save me a ton of time. If I can just find that email, it's going to answer that question for me. Question is, how long is it going to take you to find it? And is the time that it takes you to find it essentially that productivity killer where you could have just written that document from scratch if it took you 3 hours to dig that email out? So if you don't have a system that will integrate with Gmail or Outlook or the email tool that you are using, then you have to have the ability to copy the emails that you receive or forward them into that case management system and associate them with a particular contact or a particular matter. And this creates what I like to call the 360-degree view of that matter or of that file, where I can see every document, all the client's information, every email sent and received about this particular file, so that I'm saving time, I'm not looking for all kinds of random information, and what's more is that my team that I work with can see everything. How many times have you been out of the office and a staff member called and asked you a question because a client called? And the client called the office and said, I need an answer on XYZ. So the employee calls you and says, hey, do you have information on XYZ? To which you respond, yes, but it's in my email. Long pregnant pause. And your brain starts to just churn and churn and churn, and you're just like thinking, okay, what date was this sent? Who was it sent from? And you're looking through it on your phone. Your phone only holds 200 emails at a time, depending upon what your settings are. So now you're waiting for all those old emails to cycle. Meanwhile, you could be working on something else if that staff member had access to a file that said, oh, hey, I can go back and I can look and see what he told you the time in the email was. Or here's the document that he sent you last week that I didn't particularly have a copy of, and get that answer to the client so they don't even need to bother you. Or if you're on the road, at the courthouse, at a client meeting, wherever, you can go into that matter file from wherever you are and look up that particular email or document that was attached. So it's not only the ability to capture and save all that activity history, but it empowers your team to provide a higher level of customer service to everyone that you work with. And that is really why I am so adamantly passionate about email management, because we spend such a big portion of our day, essentially our lives. If anybody on the call, everybody on the call probably has a smartphone. Email is one of the first things that you open when you wake up, and it's one of the last things that you look at when you go to sleep. So that should definitely be a portion of your case management decision and evaluation. Lastly is document automation. So we've gone through some of the most powerful features inside of case management systems, and document automation is going to be one of them. So some of the tools allow you to basically build document templates. And I bring up document automation because, especially in consumer law practices, or business law practices, we are using the same documents over and over and over again, or the same email over and over and over again. When you do a real estate closing, essentially you're working through the same checklist of items. When you do a DUI, you're working through the same checklist of items in court forms. Family law, you might have variances, but you're using the same court forms, motions, affidavits, subpoenas, other type of documents. And every single time you have to fill one of those documents out, you're probably going to be using the same client name, address, case number, reference number, RE line, all of those different facets. So why type them over and over and over again? If you know, based on the questions that we asked at the beginning of the session, that 50% of your work is repeatable, why wouldn't we have a robot helping you do that? And the best way that I can translate document automation is a paralegal inside your computer. And this paralegal inside your computer fills out forms for you. And it checks for accuracy and grammatical errors and other things. And when it spits it out on the other side, you're actually ready to do something with it. So it's creating new documents from templates. And this replaces the need to go back and find that letter that I just used and then do search and replace or change out a couple words here or there, because you're telling the case management system, this is the document that I use, this is the fee agreement that I use for every single new client that I take on. And it just fills in the blanks. It also keeps work between your staff consistent and quality control. So if Susie uses Times New Roman and Sarah likes Calibri Light and John likes Val MT and Carrie uses Arial, all of your documents look different. And the styling on the page probably looks different. And they might be on the same letterhead, but it definitely doesn't look consistent across the team members. Well, the examples that I gave were fonts, but they could also be actual files. Maybe they have a fee agreement that has a different paragraph in it, or maybe they have an outdated version of that fee agreement or an outdated version of the typical contract that we use for bringing on a partner for a new LLC or an operating agreement for a particular type of business. Whereas document automation forces you to build a library of the documents that you use for every single type of case that you execute. And so when you have that library, it saves time because everybody knows that they're working off of the same file. It also increases profit margins because we're not going back and doing search and replace. And when the errors are reduced, we're not finding out when we need to file something that, oh, this has an error on it. Now I need to go back to my office or pull up my laptop again and redo this. We know that it's going to be accurate, produced with that client's information, fresh and new from the start every single time. And it frees up time to either proactively reach out to your clients and build a better relationship or keep the relationship that you have with them in good standing, or it frees up time for you to go out and actually find more clients. So that quality control, I cannot tell you how many attorneys after implementing document automation have come to me and said, it makes me more money. I know it makes me more money because I'm not spending nearly as much time doing document prep or creation. I don't need to hire 5 paralegals. I can hire, 1 support staff and utilize this tool to do a majority of my form creation. But they come to me and they say, this is my sleep at night. This is my peace of mind. I know that there's not going to be any errors on these documents, court forms, etc., when they are produced with the system because it has set the standard. It has set the process in place and standardized everything that no matter who I know is working on it, I know that they're going to be using the same form, document, or otherwise. And so this is just a quick example of how one client's information could be populated across all 3 of these documents in just a short amount of time. And this is really where I asked that question in the beginning, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a product to give you answers? I need a phone number, I need an address, I need client's contact information. Or are you looking for it to execute your work? And when you invest in a case management system, that should be what you're looking for. It should either give you answers. It's like a fancy search engine built specifically for your practice where you can find all kinds of info in milliseconds, or it's going to do your work for you. And so this is an example of that execution where it's producing work product that I can either turn around and sell to the client or charge the client for as my deliverable, or save me time so that I can build better relationships or go out and find new business. And so where is the return on investment? The return on investment is, where is the solution going to make the most impact? And that's a question only you can answer. Every single firm that I have ever worked with, where is the pain? Tell me what is hurting right now. And if it is my documents have errors, or I've got 100,000 emails and I can't ever find anything, or my staff doesn't know what's going on, those are going to be the pain points that it solves for you. And I encourage everybody, whether you're shopping or not, to use the ROI calculator that we've put together. It does not matter to me what solution you are looking at. It does not matter to me what solution you might be considering for your firm. I encourage you, we built this tool as a tool for small law firms based on what we've seen, what we've seen personally with firms over the last 10 years. So I encourage you to go and walk through these questions and find out how a case management system might best impact your firm. We have a free ROI calculator. You don't even need to put your information in to use it. You can just answer questions and get that answer for yourself right away for free today. So return on investment for your firm is, where's the solution going to make the most impact? Is it going to save me hours in a day? Is it going to save me hours in a week? And then what are the tools we use most every day? Do you spend your time mostly in email, in word processing tools, or time in billing? And if you spend the most amount of time in billing, then you need a more efficient time and billing tool, or maybe it's time that you looked at your billing processes. That could be a question as well, which a solution from any of the providers is going to help you do that. And then what feature would bring the most benefit to us today? And what feature is going to impact our firm 1 year from now? So there's two types of gains that you're going to see from a case management system. You're going to see that immediate impact, that wow factor of, oh my gosh, my life is so much easier because I have this. My employees are not calling me asking for questions because everything is in one place. There's that immediate, like, wow, I'm so happy that I bought this today. Okay, but when the honeymoon phase is over and you're 6 months in and you're living in this tool every single day, what is it doing for you then? And it should be that 50,000 foot, 100,000 foot view. It should feel like you are running a healthier practice. Your clients should be happier. You should feel less stressed. I know that that is a pie in the sky, and oftentimes I get laughed at in presentations when I say that, but legitimately, a good case management solution that is a good fit for your firm should reduce the stress that you experience on a daily basis. And I'll give you examples how. If it used to take you 2 hours to find email, or you fret having to go and dig for something, and that solution actually files everything automatically for you, or gives you a tool where you can find things quickly and take away all of those lost hours, that's going to impact your daily life pretty much immediately. And then that long haul question of what is this going to do for you a year from now? Maybe a year from now, you're thinking about bringing on a partner, and how nice would it be to be able to run reports? Or a year from now, you're making more money because a year ago, you implemented a solution that freed up 4 hours a week for you to work on marketing or business development or rainmaking or whatever you want to call it, going out and having coffee with referral partners. Those are the impacts that you're going to see a year from now. So how is it going to help you today, and how is it going to help you tomorrow? So you're investing in execution. And this is an example of a digital file. We are going to do a short 5-minute demo of Smokeball just so that everybody can see a couple of these features. I will add the caveat that we do not do time and billing. So I encourage you, if you're looking at time and billing solutions, that time and billing solutions are going to be specific to your billing needs. Almost every provider has some type of demo, either live with a salesperson or a video that you can watch online. I encourage you to check that out. Here's a couple of other resources for you. So resources from today's presentation. The Smokeball ROI calculator. Go out, check that out. This is another one. During my time at the Chicago Bar Association, I was fortunate enough to work with Catherine Sanders Reach. She had put together 25 questions for software as a service vendors or case management vendors. These are security and ethical related questions that your provider should be able to answer. Any provider specific to the legal industry should be able to answer these 25 questions. If they cannot, then that is essentially a red flag for you that they might not be the best fit for the legal industry. And all of the providers that I'm going to list today should have absolutely no problem knocking out these 25 questions. But from an ethical perspective, from security, I don't really go into a whole lot of security because it's pretty much industry standard that you have to have it or your product is not going to work for lawyers. So these are questions. If you want to email me after for an exact copy of this, you can also get it from the Chicago Bar Law Practice Management and Technology Division. It is on their website, I believe. If not, I can email it to you. So here are some of the most common providers that you're going to see. All of our household names are there. MyCase, Clio, Rocket Matter, Tab 3, Cosmo, Lex is a new tool, Action Step is a new tool, Practice Panther is new, Lexicata is new. And everybody on this screen has been doing this for quite some time. So other than the three most recent additions all the way at the bottom, Practice Panther, Action Step, and Lexicata, who are our newest new kids on the block, everybody here has been around for quite a while, whether with their current company or with a company before then. They know the drill. Attorneys need security. They need a product that works, and they need one that speaks to their practice. So I encourage you to shop with these providers, and we are going to jump into a demo in just a second. One other small layer that I'll add, if you are looking for a client portal that is specific to your area of law, you're going to be looking at something from one of these two providers. I think another one that's specific to your area of law would be Wealth Counsel if you do estate planning. But again, review all of those different questions and figure out what is going to work best for your firm. So now let's jump into a quick demonstration. And I'm going to go ahead and open up Smokeball. So keep in mind that Smokeball has this list on the left-hand side. We are built specific for each area of law. So we have over 170 different matter layouts. And what that means is, to just give you an example, when I open up, I'm going to sort this by matter type. This is my home screen. So I can clearly see, each area of law, what I have going on in each one. I'm going to open up a real estate transaction. And this is a real estate by matter. Now, you'll notice a couple things that are different about our matter screen. And this is the matter screen that we're in right now. All of those custom fields that we talked about earlier on in the presentation, because this is a real estate transaction, it's going to show me things like property detail. If I open up the closing details, it's got all my closing dates in here. Percentage price, held by the buyer's attorney, what's the initial amount going into escrow, what's the final amount that's going to be due, and what's the loan number, is it a conventional loan or otherwise. So really, really granular information here. Specific to my practice area, I'm going to open up a DUI just to give you another example to compare from. And so inside of DUI, we have different information: defense expert, defense witness, prosecution expert. And when we open up case details, it's going to ask me for things like blood alcohol level, arresting officer, badge information, drug results, bond number, tickets, priors, arresting officer, is this client on probation. So because it is built in that way, and whether the solution that you're looking at comes out of the box like the DUI or the real estate matter with all these custom fields, you can also add custom fields. So I know Clio has the ability to add a ton of custom fields. This is built for you right out of the box. And it just depends on which provider you end up going with, but if that's something that you're looking for, it's definitely something that you should ask them. The advantage of having these types of details is that I can go into a form and letter library and actually choose. So let's just say that I need to do the initial inspection letter, retention letter, anything, attorney modification letter. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a file cover sheet for a purchase. And I'm going to have that done in landscape form. So some of the tools allow you to build your own library of documents, letters, and otherwise. I'm just going to open that up and give it a second to think. And then here is that document that we chose from our library. It is populating with my client's information. And so here is that execute your work portion. So if we go back to the matter file, when I talked originally at the beginning of the program about either delivering you with answers or executing your work, this is the difference. So if I'm just looking for a system to give me answers, not a big deal. I can go to my Smokeball home screen, and I can type in the client's name. And then here is Swanson. Here's all the contacts related to Swanson. And then here's all the documents, emails, because we are integrated with email. Those are going to return results as well. So it's going to do one of two things. It's going to give you answers. I need Ron Swanson's phone number. Okay, boom. Here's your answer, right? Or it's going to actually execute your work for you. And if you're lucky enough, maybe it does both. It just depends on what's most important for your firm. Or it's going to execute my work. So do I need a quick phone number, or do I need a quick document? And how many hours would it take you or a support staff to actually execute that document? And now we're going to go into the email management and document management features. We've got a couple minutes left, and we'll jump into questions. So from here, I'm going to do one or two things. Maybe I'm going to save it as a draft, or I need to send it to my client. So I'm going to send it to my client. It's going to pull that email right from the file. I would like to send this as a PDF. It's going to open up an email for me. You're going to see Microsoft Outlook blinking down here. There is my email. It is associated with this matter, so the tag that you see at the bottom tells me that it is associated with the Swanson buy matter. The other side is nope. And there's my file cover sheet already attached as a PDF. I'm going to go ahead and send this to Ron. I didn't type a body in there. I normally would do that. We're a little pressed for time here at the end. And now the difference is that when I go back to my file, I'm going to lift this up so everybody can see. Here's that file cover sheet that I just created. Here's the email that I just sent. And guess what's going to happen when Ron replies to that email? It's going to get saved in the matter too. So when my staff or myself needs to go back and see every single email that ever went back and forth between myself or Ron or anyone else, here it is. And I can actually open this. I can print it. If it was sent to me, I would actually be able to reply to that email as well. So that's that 360-degree view of a client matter. And maybe that information is not all super important to you. Maybe it's just a place for you to keep track of all those phone numbers and contact details. In which case, then, inside of the contact details page, just to give you an idea of the information that you can collect, this is where we would keep all of that general information. Additional details include sensitive information such as birth, death, social security number, and otherwise. And then version control. So if I right-click on any document, I can see the version history. I can see who worked on it. From here, I can view this version or set as the current. And so that is a very high-level overview of what a case management system looks like and has the ability to do. Now it is up to you to shop providers to figure out what is the best fit for your firm.